So what this book is about is a plastic surgeon who did a lot of surgeries on a lot of people, and he found two different types of results. The first was he would change their physical appearance, whether it be their ears, their nose, their face, their body part, and he would notice substantial change in personality. It's almost like they were a completely new person. And then he did surgery on a lot of other people, and he noticed there was no change in personality. And he was like, what is going on? How is there 50% of the people that I treat are getting like complete new personalities, all this confidence, becoming amazing salespeople, thriving and succeeding at life, while others are still, well, they look beautiful, that might change their nose or their ears, and they still feel ugly, they still feel less than, the less attractive sister, etc., etc., etc. He's like, what's going on? He's like, it's obviously plastic surgery is not the answer. Yes, it's fixing 50% of people and changing them completely, but the other 50% still feel down on themselves. And this was around the time that psychology actually found out the concept of self-image. And so self-image, he linked it with plastic surgery. When the plastic surgery fixed the mutilated self-image, the person became better. Someone thought, my face is too ugly, I can't be good in sales, what do they think of me? Or I can never be confident. And when they fixed their face and their ears or whatever disfigurement that they thought they had, they would fix the mutilated personality, the self-image. Like, of course I can do it, I'm worthy, I have everything I need now, and therefore started succeeding. Their behaviors, results, actions were different. The other ones, they were not able to fix their mutilated self-image. So he decided, he's like, honestly, if anybody, for the most part, comes for plastic surgery, he wanted to make sure that the inside self-image work was actually done, and it was actually correct, and it was actually corrected and fixed, and rather than the outer exterior. And a lot of times when he fixed that, he realized a lot of people didn't even need plastic surgery. They needed surgery on the inside self-image. So this was during the time that self-image psychology was just getting ground. There was another teacher actually from Columbia, his name was Mr. Leckie, and he actually studied this with people. He had thousands of students that he studied this with, and he said he turned failing students, students that weren't good at spelling, students that weren't good at mathematics, and turned them around, some of them in days, by fixing their self-image. So this was huge. And I don't know about you, but I know that there's things in my life that I'm not doing. There's things that I procrastinate on. There's things that I want to work towards. I want to be financially free. I'd love to have my own business. I'd love to have a group, a community where I help, and we all, help each other, and we grow, and we live our best form of life. But then I also have a self-image that is probably contrary to those goals and dreams, so they're just not aligning. And so he gets into it further, and I'm actually speaking from memory because I really wanted to learn it and understand it and master it. So definitely read the book, but he gets it into it further, like what determines our self-image and what is self-image. Like, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I'm a go-getter, I'm hardworking. Like, those are all adjectives that are describing a person, but what makes a self-image? And he goes into describing that the self-image is just a formula of thoughts and ideas. That's all it is. And those happen through successes in our lives, when we've done things good, and it happens from failures, from triumphs, from experiences. We build these thoughts about ourselves from our upbringing, what our parents said, what our teachers said, what our siblings said, all of those things, good, bad, everything, things that had impact, or maybe sometimes an important person spoke into your life and said something good or bad. It has that effect on your self-image. One of the greatest tennis players, Novak, he said when he was 5 years old, this lady came into his life and said, you will be the world's best tennis player. And that formed his self-belief, and he believed it, and he accepted it, and he went off and obviously did the work and years of training and sacrifices and everything, but he believed that idea. So it could be a simple thing when you're 5 years old, or it could be, tomorrow somebody says something thing and it sticks with you. So you never know what it's going to be, but that's what it is. Your self-image is just a whole bunch of ideas, and that makes up your personality. And that in essence is controlling everything. There's so much science behind the psychology that controls everything. And so if you're like most people, or if you're like me, you may not be self-aware. You may not know what are my weaknesses, what are my strengths, what do I think of myself. You may be an ego and be like, I don't think like that. But actually, I challenge you to examine what your real beliefs are, and actually like sit down with yourself quietly and just, start keeping track of them so that you can see what your actual beliefs are. And it may take some time because, like I said, the ego's in the way. You don't want to admit it, and you're just harming yourself if you're not admitting it. It's actually not weakness, it's actually strength. And to know, how am I thinking? What do I think about myself? I know for the longest time I thought about myself as a failure just because one of my business endeavors didn't work out, or I didn't get into medical school because I didn't push, or I didn't even apply after writing my exams because I was like, I will not get in, my marks are not good, so I'm not even going to apply. Thought about applying to Polish schools, I thought about applying overseas, and I was like, I still won't get in. And I kind of just really believe that based on, my grades or how much work I put into it. And I know obviously I had the capability, I could do well. There's many times I got A's across the board, but I bought into this belief, or, didn't work hard when I didn't want to, or maybe didn't want it enough. But all these failures kind of stacked up on top of each other, and I honestly didn't even think that I was successful in anything, even though someone might look in and be like, wow, she's done this or that or this. Internally, I was like, I'm a failure. Didn't get into med school, my business failed, all this stuff happened, and that kind of became my narrative. So you kind of start, he talks about it in the book, you kind of start shutting down and you become hostile or angry. And I'm smiling, but it's true. Smiling because it's actually true, because you start losing that creative expression of yourself. I challenge you guys to write down what your actual thoughts are of yourself. I'm going to do that as I go into chapter 2, and just start keep a little book and just start writing everything down inside of that, because it'll be good to know what the self-image was when we started and what the self-image is going to be when we finish. Another key concept that he talks about is the subconscious mind. A lot of times, I don't know if you're familiar with the subconscious mind. I'll explain it to you quickly. So the conscious mind is their thinking mind. It's the one that says, okay, I should do this, or maybe I should do that. It's a mind that's in control. The subconscious mind is explained as another element of our mind. It doesn't do the conscious thinking, but it just listens. So if you're like, for example, I'm tired, if you give it commands like, I'm so productive, I get things done, if you give it a lot of commands, it basically does what you subject onto it. So if you think you're smart and you think you're good at math or bad at math, it actually basically does what you command to it. So then you might be thinking, okay, Suki, I've commanded a lot of things to it, but it's what you command to it repetitively. And the main thing that it says in this book is, if you have like 100 different ideas about yourself, your self-image, and you're like, I am successful, I am powerful, I am strong, and it doesn't match these ideas of your self-image, it actually will not penetrate your subconscious mind. It just won't. It'll be like, what is this foreign thing? And just kick it out, for lack of better analogy. And this has happened to me many times. I've practiced autosuggestion. I've practiced saying good things about myself. I will say not for that long, because there's a self-image component that self-sabotages, but I have practiced and it hasn't really worked. And it has worked in many different areas of my life, which I'll get into as we get into the weeks. Maxwell Maltz explains that it doesn't work because it's not consistent with the main ideas and thoughts that we have about ourselves. And he actually said that there is no subconscious mind. Maltz actually calls it something different. I'm just going to look at the book as I talk to you. He calls it a goal-striving servo mechanism based on his study of cybernetics. And he said it consists of the brain and nervous system. It's a goal-striving servo mechanism. It can give you success or it can give you failure. So it's goal-striving. That's what that thing is. It does not know, it can't like rebuke what you say to it. It's basically whatever you give to it, it's going to make come true if it is in alignment with your self-image, with your thoughts and your beliefs. So that he says actually that we don't have to do this life alone. We are actually born with this goal-striving servo mechanism. And this goal-striving mechanism, our brain and nervous system, is in us to help ourselves and to help us reach our goals. He calls it the creative mechanism. And if you use it correctly, the creative mechanism will become your success mechanism. So in this book, he's going to explain how to use this creative mechanism, our nervous system, and our brain to help us reach our goals. You want to wake up early. You want to be energetic. You want to get the most out of life. You want to juice this life. It says it will help us learn how to use the servo mechanism and teach us what to do. So that's exciting. So as long as it's in touch with, as long as the idea or whatever we want, like for example, I am productive or I am successful. Say if you're saying those things, but inside your actual self-image is like, I'm a failure. I never do it. I can't wake up. I can't change. I can't. Those are your main thoughts. It's going to be out of conflict. It's going to be not out of conflict. It's going to be in conflict with each other. So that's basically chapter 1. He does leave off chapter 1 with a few things. It says, list here an experience from your past that is explained by the principles given in this chapter. So that was one of the things. List an experience from your past that is explained by the principles given in this chapter. And number 2, he said key points to remember. Write 5 different points that you can remember. So just to summarize, he was a plastic surgeon. Some people immediately changed their personality when they changed their external shell. Other people still had a mutilated personality no matter how beautiful they looked. He's like, what is going on? That was number 1. That made him just question everything. This is around the same time that self-image psychology was growing and people were learning more about it. And they said, if you actually can change your self-image, you can literally change the results, the actions, and behaviors that you do in your outer life. That's a key component. Number 3, principle or point to remember, third point to remember is a servo mechanism. It is basically a creative mechanism that we all have, which consists of our brain and nervous system, and it's basically helping us reach our goals. It can also be called a failure mechanism or a success mechanism based on the things that we program and the things that we think about ourselves and how our self-image is. Number 4, another thing he did talk about that did not mention is if you can remember feeling good or being proud of yourself or doing something. And this is crazy because I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I can't even remember one thing. I'm like, what's something great that I've done? Oh, I did that because I had time, or oh, I had nothing else going on, so obviously I could do that. Or I don't know, I feel like I'm very hard on myself. I beat myself up. I'm like, don't give myself enough credit. And so he talks about actually getting in the feeling of where you are proud of yourself and then just bathing in that feeling and then thinking about what your aims are, what your goals are, what your dreams are once you get to that feeling. Not from the feeling of, oh, I suck, or oh, I'm a failure, or I'm not where I want to be at in life. He talks about really bathing it in. So because I couldn't really think of anything good, which is so crazy, I basically kept a book and I'm now writing moments that I thought were great, things that I've done where I could be proud. Also showed me like I should do more hard things where I can be more proud of myself and not hard on myself. For example, exercise. I know like if I keep my word to myself when I say I'm going to do things and I do it, that makes me feel proud of myself. But if I have a bad self-image of someone that doesn't follow through or doesn't do that, then no matter how much I want that, it's not going to align. I hope this is making sense to you guys and you're getting some value out of this. This is basically chapter 1. I am going to break into chapter 2, and maybe I will do more than one video a week. I do want us to master this if you're with me on the journey, and really change our lives in the next little bit and actually implement this stuff. He does give a mental training exercise, so if you do want to do it, it says pick someone to thoroughly study for a month, to get so intimately familiar with the way he or she thinks that you can sit down and have a conversation with the person and solicit advice and coaching in your imagination. So pick someone to thoroughly study for a month, get so intimately familiar with the way he or she thinks, then sit down and have a conversation with that person and solicit advice and coaching in your imagination. So let me know who you're going to pick. Let me know what you're in the comments. Let me know what your current self-image is, who you're going to pick, and any other things that arise from this chapter. I hope that made sense to you. I'm going to watch it back, do a little bit of edits, and get that up so that it can help anybody. And then I'm going to actually do the exercises as well. I don't know if we'll start a Facebook group or start an Instagram group or a WhatsApp group, but there will be a group so that we can all help each other and elevate our lives. So I hope that this helped you, and if it did, please comment in the subscription box and comment in the comment box, and let's help each other. I'm excited for the changes to happen, and thank you for being a part of this channel for the last 20 minutes, and I will see you next time. Bye.